So I am honoured to have in the Design Note studio one of the legends of board game design and someone who stands astride this hobby in so many ways, the good Dr. Reiner Knizia. Reiner, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's an honor to be there again.
Yeah, again. So my first question is, and this is where you get to, because in society we're forced to be modest the whole time, this is where you get to brag a little bit. And my first question is, when did you realise that you were good at what you do?
That is a very tough question, because I was interested and I was loving games for my whole life. And it is very difficult to say when this realization appears, because it is not modest. It is more success. And yes, this is working for me, and therefore I'll go further into this. And you get more experience. So when are you good? When are you really good? When are you excellent? I think I'm waffling and I have no real answer to this.
And so, I mean, what gives you an inkling? Because some people, not myself, are possessed with incredible self-confidence and they kind of understand that what they do is good. And then some people need reinforcement from outside, criticism, that sort of thing. What convinces you that you're on the right track?
Yeah. I think my motivation is very much intrinsic. That means I have a very strong interest in games, and what I love more than playing games is designing games, which is of course linked to playing games. And it is really the joy of seeing something created out of nothing. It is how I realize my creativity, and this is how I shape my work, and it gives me the freedom what to do. And then you create something which brings a lot of enjoyment and fun to people. So that's a great reward. And it's experience, after all, I think, that makes you go the right ways.
So you're a mathematician by
Yes.
trade. How did having a knowledge of mathematics help you when you were first coming to designing games?
You see, the nice thing about our industry is that, and I've worked in the banking industry and I've worked in the IT industry, and it's different there. But in the games industry, I always say we are lots of colorful birds. We come from many different backgrounds, and we are joined by the love for the product. So that means the fantastic experience is that we bring all different strengths and a great variety of games to the market and to the players. So every designer has their handwriting. I am, as we say, a scientist, and I see the world in my way. If you are a designer, an artwork designer, a graphic illustrator, you see the world differently. And so it's not that I deliberately use my so-called strengths. It is just that that's how I see the world, not only the games, and that everybody sees the world slightly differently. So I am certainly somebody who likes clear, simple rules, clear principles, how the games work, short rules. I'm not a great storyteller with respect to lots of details. So I'm more trying as a scientist to reduce redundancy, whereas the great storytellers writing fiction are creating lots of redundancies. And these are two different types of games. And so it's not better, it's not worse. This is just me, and I'll stay true to me.
So it's interesting that we've seen a development. So you have, with the advent of German games in the 90s, the kind of games that you design that are sort of laser focused, very simple, yet offer a lot of depth. And then you see a sort of next generation that iterate upon that, sort of people like Uwe Rosenberg and Stefan Feld, that introduce more complexity, yet there is still a sort of wedding to efficiency. And then you see now a lot of what we would call Euro games are, I mean, I would term them overwieldy, but you could say complicated as opposed to complex. Do you think that's just an inevitable sign of progress within an art form, that it will inevitably become more complex?
No, it is not inevitable. And you also, I think one needs to very clearly differentiate between the insiders who love complexity, particularly if you see the American influenced world who cannot have enough of the details in the games, and another text on this card and another influence from this tile. Uh, this, I don't think, actually reflects the majority of players around the world. And with the smartphones and all the internet and the interconnectivity, we have lots and lots of players who have at least games in their pockets through their smartphones. And these people are not looking for these great complexities. So we need to be careful that those people who are multipliers, who shout the loudest and influence a lot, are not really representing the general market. It doesn't mean that that has no importance. There is a great community, great meaning big, and also important community of gamers, and they influence a lot and they like a lot. And yes, there is some complexity there, but my target is not so much to go to the nth degree to the gamer. So what I'm trying to do is I try to reach a lot of people through smart, simple but not simplistic games. So that means simple rules, but then the depth comes from the players themselves, because I'm essentially just laying out the platform where the people then can engage and use the rules to the best of their benefit to win or to cooperate or whatever they want to do.
And so, you had a full life and a full career before you entered the murky world of game design. What from that previous life helped you when you entered into designing games full time?
The simple answer is everything. I mean, essentially, every experience. You see, games are a mirror of our lives, and therefore games change because our lives change. The digital world is very important, but it's also that the topics which interested people have changed. Things have different relevance, and if you want to stay relevant as a designer, you need to see what is going on in the world today. So it is a challenge which goes on and on and on to stay on track with what is happening.
So I wrote a review of modern art recently, and I went back and watched it, and I thought, oh my God, could my review be more self-indulgent? And I went on a sort of a tangent where I was talking about the game as a satire on the art world, that what is valuable is what is worth money. I mean, when you design a game like modern art, is that aspect of satire in your thought, or is it simply about putting together game mechanisms that flow brilliantly as a game?
Well, the first and the foremost objective is always to create an excellent, brilliant, fantastic game. And I'm not trying to make it even harder for me to say it has to be a card game with 110 cards. I mean, if you do something too brief, then it is harder, and then it is along these rails. But what I'm trying to do is just give, like a child. I call my games children. And like a child, you cannot force it somewhere. What you can do is you can help the child develop its full potential. Therefore, looking at it, being open to it, and letting it develop. And with this respect, coming back to your question, what helps you in life? And what helps you for design, because we have a mirror of our life in the games, all the experiences help. And so you can really apply the knowledge about the world and the people from many different angles. Everybody will apply some different strengths. I came from the IT world, so that has helped me with the digital games which came up after the 90s. I come from the banking world, that is big organizations. So I'm trying to keep my organizations, in inverted commas, very small, because the bigger you go up the ladders and the bigger it gets, the more you manage and the less you do what you really are able to doing. Yes, and that's why we don't have big companies of artists like painters. You don't have a painter organization of 1,000 people. Yes, so but it helps you when you look at bigger companies why they are not as lean as you would like them in their decision process, for example. So that all comes together with saying, what do we put into the games? What makes a fantastic game? It's different views of different people, but the better you are established in life. Hemingway said it perfectly. If you want to write, he said, you need to live.
And so, there is this sort of literary theory of the death of the author, which is essentially says the author's view of their own work has no more relevance than the consumer of that work. Once the author releases it into the public, then all bets are off, essentially. How do you feel about people's interpretations of your work, or do you let it just wash over you?
Essentially, I'm not really following all the chatter, and this is not meant derogatively. I'm not really following it because I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to focus on my work and where can I do my best contribution. My best contribution is to work on the game before it is released. Once it's out there, the game needs to stand on its own. So when we test it, and we test a lot, then we need to make sure that we get something which is robust enough to stand by itself. And then, of course, I'm happy if people like the game. If the ratings are very low, it doesn't make me happy very clearly. And if the games win awards, that makes me happy as well. But as your initial question went, I'm trying, I think that's an important matter, not to base my happiness on external factors. If I win a big award, then I'm happy, and if I miss it, then I'm unhappy. This is a recipe for disaster. If it's always the same. If you're looking for outside reinforcement and outside recognition, you're always on a very wobbly track, and you cannot stay true to yourself. I will release a game when I think it is perfect. I mean, perfect is a big word, but when I think it is a really good game, I can't improve it, and it's good, and I want to get it out there. And then I have a very clean conscience. It's out there. You cannot please everybody with every game, but it's out there, and it's there, and if somebody likes it, fine, happy, and if somebody doesn't like it, that's fine. That's their own right, yes. And so all fine, as long as I'm staying clear that I don't publish anything which I cannot fully back.
So can you give us an overview then of your process? How you come from an idea to a thing in a box that I put out in front of my friends and then watch them devastate me at?
The starting point is the most important aspect. I'll tell you a triviality, but it is a very deep insight for me. I have the ambition to create innovative designs. Neither to copy myself and certainly not copy somebody else, yes. And the best chance to reach this, to come out with something innovative, is to start with something innovative. It's very trivial, but it is a very deep point of saying, if I start with mundane things which have been done 100 times, how am I going to get this creativity in there? How can I force it in there? So the initial starting point is really very crucial. And that is where my mind continuously meanders around and says, where is a new entry point? Where can I go so that I don't trample along the same path? And that means for us, this evolution-revolution in the market, with all the electronic digital worlds, with all the new possibilities to produce new things in the game, ultraviolet light lamps I had in there and so on. So this allows us, but it also forces us to rethink. When I first designed a game for the mobile phone, suddenly I was faced with this very small, it wasn't an iPhone at that time, it was a small Nokia's, yes. So then you're forced with rethinking your whole approach to games. How do I get this on the small screen? How do I get this playing if people don't even read rules? Yeah, how do I make it as intuitive? And this is very valuable because it then fertilizes all the other designs you do as well in the other genres, because you just learn something new. And this is the essence of it, yes. Start with something innovative, but the design process, of course, is much more. So You asked me a short question, but the design process is long, so you get a
Yeah,
long answer. Um, it is the experience of, is there potential? Can we do something? It's lots of discussions. I mean, in the end, the lifeblood of designing games is playtesting. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. You cannot sit down and calculate. I'm a mathematician, yes, but you cannot calculate the fun. You have to experience the fun. Therefore, for me, the main point is I will always sit at that table. I will always play that game with the other people. I'm not. For me, blind testing doesn't work. I will be there, but I will also make sure that I hold back. Everybody can make a boring game funny by putting their personality in and being a clown and this, and people will laugh. But I'm not there when the other consumers take the game out. So I will hold back a little bit and see what happens. But what I'm saying is, or where I wanted to go to is, we're not only playing, we are doing a lot of discussions once we have played. Why did this work? What was this? I will then more be the facilitator than anything else and ask lots of questions. And I have many different play rounds. And so, in summary, I do a lot of thinking initially. From a starting point, how can this work? Do I believe in it? And many of my designs die the first 2 minutes. I mean, it's you cannot say what is a design and what is not, yes. And once I spend a few hours on it, then it's still the crucial time. Is this really worth going or not going? But after I've done my thinking, after I, so to speak, closed my eyes, looked into this world, sit myself at the table, experience the play, see, this is my turn. What do I feel? What emotions do I have? What do I do? What's new? Why do I like this? So it's all in the main. And essentially, the game gets finished in the head before it gets play tested. But then it comes on the table. And then we play and play and play. And then what people today call as design thinking, it's just common sense. It's an iterative process. You start with something in the beginning. It just makes enormous big bangs of this doesn't work and this doesn't work. Lots of work to reworking it. And later it's fine-tuning. But it's a lot of playing, and it's a lot of torturing my playtesters. They torture me because they're cruel to my designs, but that's what they need to be. Good playtesters continuously to have the urge of the designer to strangle them. And so they are cruel to me, but I'm cruel to them because I'm asking them all the awkward questions. How would you do it? Can't you think of something better? And so on. So, and essentially, as I say, I'm the facilitator, and I will talk to so many different test groups and torture them all until somebody finally spits out the right idea and we make the next step forward. So in a way, I am the vampire who sucks all the blood from my playtesters, and eventually, when you look at who suffered through the process, you see that the credits at the end of the rules. It is a common process of lots of people together and creating this, this atmosphere, which I'm just currently reflecting a bit, this atmosphere of not everybody can say anything, and we will hit each other over stupid ideas and so on, but it is really coming up with something. And this atmosphere creates good ideas, and eventually you're going to, oh yes. And the experience then to say, okay, this is one and this is not going anywhere, is again what you have from many, many years of doing design and seeing where you go. Sorry, that was a long answer.
that was a perfect answer. So one of my favourite games of yours is Stevenson's Rocket, and I think part of the reason I love it so much is it seems to be the rules just seem to me to be incentives to the players to interact. You know, that you put a tunnel here so you want other people to go through it. And to what degree do you think you have a handle on people's psychology? Because especially Stevens' Rocket seems to just get a screwdriver and turn on those parts of the brain that help you play the game.
Well, Stephen's Rocket is probably one of the underrated games, which I regret that it never really made it to the big classics. I mean, it has been republished, and we have a map for America, we have a map for China in the meantime, yes. It is not something that I deliberately built in there. It is the playtesting, it is the experience, and it is fine-tuning this. Every game works slightly different. You know, if you take Picomino, if you take Lost Cities, it grabs it. The hooks are always different, and that's the important thing of innovation. Yes, you don't try the same hook all the time, and we test it, we take the good things, we keep the good things, we strengthen them, and then we have a game. Yes, and yes, I think Stevenson's Rocket with the three elements, what you essentially do, build track, put stations down, and have the connections with the cities. It is it is a wonderful tight game. And because it is so tight, because you have this platform, as I mentioned before, and you're on this platform, and it, what I like is, I mean, Through the Desert expresses this very nicely for me. You sit there and you bite on your fingernails and say, I need to do this and this and this, and hopefully she's doing that. And I need another. Why can't I have 5 turns in 1 turn? Yes, and I need to do 5 actions. I can only do 2. That's what I expect from life, and that's what I expect from a good game. Not what is the least worst move I can do. Nothing really to do. This is boring. Life is boring like this, and game is boring like this. Yes, so give people lots of temptations. And I think within Stevenson's Rockets, you have lots of too many temptations, and that's good.
So you've spoken about sitting down with your playtesters and then hitting that moment where you go, yes, that's it. What is that? What is the crux of a good game design?
That it brings enjoyment to the people. It is so simple. I mean, for me, the highlight of a person who has done that to the 100% absolutely is Steve Jobs. He has created a perfect iPhone. He has created the iPad. He has revolutionized the music industry. I don't think we are aware how much he has influenced our lives, everybody's lives, just through his insistence on the perfect design. This phone will only have one button. Yes, and it's the insistence. I mean, it takes a certain personality, and I'm trying not to become a too extreme personality, but it is creating something that is wonderful and insisting on that, and then hoping that it gels with a lot of people. Yes.
And so, how has your process changed over the years? I notice Witchstone is designed with another designer, which seems sort of fairly rare for you. How have you iterated and changed your whole sort of attitude design and your process of getting games out there over the years?
Yeah. Yes, I did one game together with Sebastian Bleasdale, and I did now one with Martino, whose last name is unpronounceable. Forgive me, Martino. But these are special circumstances why these things happen. For me, working with other designers is not because I don't like them. We are all friends, but it doesn't go with my way of designing. Sitting there at 4 o'clock in the morning and really driving things forward and staying on it very intensively. But then when I let go, I'm very far away from it. So when a publisher then calls me and says, I have a short question, can we change this? It is not a short answer. You see, it is, I need to get into the game again. I need to really feel myself. I need to play it again. Shooting from the hip doesn't work for me. I'm either in the game or I'm not in the game. Yes. So it becomes more distraction and an unwelcome process to get thrown into the game for little things again. Yes. And so I do something, I leave it with another designer, then it comes back. This process doesn't work for me. Yes. So, and that's the reason, because when I'm on it, I'm very intense on it. How has the process changed? I haven't really made myself aware of how this changed. I think the main point is the experience of following the most promising path and being brave to say this is not going anywhere. We stop this before we put the lost time or lost cost fallacy. We've put so much in. We need to make it work now. This is not a good basis. Otherwise, we have a very well organized play test theater and session. Of course, we have all the technical environments, printing on thick cards, boards, and things. And all the materials. We have lots and lots of different game materials. If I need a witch which is green with a red head and a blue nose, I can go there and find one in inverted commas, yes, so I don't have to run out. Even so today, with the online buying, it's not such a problem. It was much more challenge before that. Otherwise, essentially, from the real facts how I work, nothing has much changed over the many years. Yes.
So you've designed a lot of games. Well, you've published a lot of games. I'm sure you've designed, infinitely more than you've published. How are you so prolific?
It is my enthusiasm and the curse of my ideas. I have the feeling today again. We had a short business meeting, and the opportunities are just immensely overpowering. Yeah. So another idea, in a discussion with the managing director of a larger German company, publishing company, I suggested something, and he was very enthusiastic about it. And so this could become a completely new line of games. Yes, I could drop everything. I would like to drop everything and work on this for the next 3 weeks or next 6 weeks. However, I have another 10 things out there which are in the same situation. So I'm adding ideas far too quickly to be able to realize them all. And that's the big pitfall you can fall into, to start too many things and not finish them. And that means it is also the panic when I go on the fairs and I see that other people might have invented the game which the universe reserved for me, yes? And so it's the panic to get things out before the other people have my ideas, and jokingly, and it is the enthusiasm and so many ideas, and I want to do them. And it's like a child in a toy shop or a candy shop. You say it's too many things, and it takes a long time for each of the games to finish. So I put in a lot of time. That's my life, and of course I have optimized the processes with testing, but also I have Karen, my assistant, who does a lot of the operational back office side. And now we have Britta on board, who does all the licensing. So that means I'm trying to, otherwise you become the victim of your own success because you're just running all the processes, but I need to protect my time to follow the curse of the ideas. Yes.
So when people talk about you in context with the board game world, they use words that carry weight. They use words like legend. And I don't want to embarrass you here, but firstly, how does it feel to be thought of in that way? And do you ever allow yourself to revel in this reputation that you have in the world of board games?
I think it is nice, and I think subconsciously, of course, it's a big reward. But also one needs to see there are lots of genres where there are lots of successful people, and even in our industry there are lots of good designers, lots of good successful people. My panic is more, I cannot rest on my own laurels. You are always, it's the old saying, you're always as good as your next design. And so reinvent yourself, stay focused, stay relevant for the people. Don't look back here and say, oh, most of these awards are from the 90s. How great was I in the 90s? Nobody's interested in this yet. So it's how great am I today? Of course, it's nice. It's rewarding. And I'm a very lucky person, and I'm very grateful for that I could really do what I wanted to do, and it was successful. But I also say you make your own luck. I worked hard for it, and I had a lot of dedication. I have no children, and I spend most of my life on the games. Yes, people who go on holidays for 4 weeks every year and do this and this and this, and they lead a different life, and then they can't complain that they didn't have the time to build this. Yes, so it's you can say I'm a very sad person because my life looks very, very. I'm chained to my design desk here, and there is the next idea. But that's how I want to live, and I think I have always been the person who wants to do one thing properly and really right, rather than dancing on 5 weddings, as the German saying goes.
So I've got two more questions. So you're at Spiel, and you go out for dinner in the evening, and you're coming back from the loo, and you there's a table of gamers, and you hear your name mentioned. So you sidle into the corner and you eavesdrop on their conversation. What do you hope they're saying about you?
That's very difficult. I think I would. I would hope that they like the games they're playing, and you made a nice introduction. You referred to me as a good doctor. I think that's a perfect reference. Because
And so my last.
it's more than a game. It expresses also, this is not a ruthless business person. This is not somebody who just does it for the money. It is, I'm here. Of course I'm defending my properties as well, but it is there that I want to share it with the people and want to get the designs out there and hope that people are happy with it. That's my biggest reward. To be honest, if I don't have to work anymore. I could retire anytime. But what would I want to do in my retirement? I would like to design games. So what's the point of retiring? Yes.
And so my final question then, and you might be someone who's the most qualified to answer this. Why is gaming good?
I can answer this very briefly because it brings people together.
Brilliant. Well, Reiner Knizia, thank you ever so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you. It was an honor, and I'm delighted about the conversation. So hopefully have fun with the material.